Welcome back to another episode of The Giant Leap. Today, we are joined by someone who has made waves, not just in business, but in life itself. From scaling his way through the ranks of the insurance industry in the 80s to mastering the art of digital marketing, redefining success on his own terms. But beyond the business acumen, what truly stands out is his ability to turn adversity into opportunity for both himself and the people he mentors.
Mark Blundell, welcome to the show.
I need to do the Lloyd Ross. Welcome to the show. It's great to be here. Great to be here. That's one hell of an introduction. What did you talk about me making waves? Is that what you said?
Making waves, yes, making waves.
Referring to my weight, given we live close by the water here, making waves, huh? Okay, well, that's it.
With one of the most beautiful views I've ever seen in my life, actually, from your podcast. Yeah. It's stunning.
Pretty cool. Well, I'm really feel privileged and humbled that you've invited me on here.
Oh, we feel privileged having you on. So, Mark, you've achieved a level of success that many aspire to, but few reach. What's the earliest memory you have of wanting more than what was around you, and where do you think that hunger for success came from?
Well, that's a really good question. When you think about success, I think, first of all, you have to define, well, what is that? And what's our measure of success? Is our measure of success how much money we've got? Is our measure of success how many customers we've got, how many views we've got, how many likes we've got? What is the measure of success? And each of us has our own different interpretation of what success is. Many of us have no idea what it actually is. It just is a good word to aim for. And so when I think about success for me is some sort of proximity to that aligns with the blueprint of how I'm made. Where I can just be me and do something that contributes a peaceful sensation, because that's really what we're all aiming for. And, a lot of us think, well, if we get more money, we'll be more peaceful because there'll be less people chasing us, if we pay our bills late or if we have a bigger house, we'll be more peaceful. And, I've seen over time a lot of people chase those things and attain them and never really being happy. Yeah. Now, I think that sense of peace and chasing of that peace, if I think back to the earliest memories, I'm still in school. I grew up in a tumultuous household. There was a lot of, I think it's the best word to describe the household I grew up in is chaotic. And so there was a lot of people who were, mum and dad trying their best, but just probably not thinking about what they were doing and the impact of what they were doing. And in real terms, for me, success was just a feeling of peacefulness. Now, if you came from a chaotic house and you could do something for somebody where they achieved their goal, I found at a very young age that sense of peace was attained. And so my focus, and this isn't about being Mother Teresa or saintly like, this is just inside of me. And I have to say that from a long time, I have found that I have really enjoyed the concept of adding value to someone's life. And so, and at the times where I've been at my most unhappiest or dissatisfied, they've been when I've not done that successfully. And so I look back and I go, a lot of the things I've done in life were about gaining that sense of peace. And, it's a forever ending journey, and it's something that you always yearn for, you don't always attain. But, you know, in my younger days, I'm thinking as I'm talking to you about this, the earliest times, I remember, you know, I remember being a kid at school, and I was into goldfish, having fish tanks, and mine used to die all the time. But I could never master keeping fish alive in a fish tank on my desk in my room, and I uh, I remember that someone told me at the aquarium where you buy your fish, if you buy what's called an air stain, which is just a pump that pumps air through a little perforated stone or something like that and puts bubbles into the water, that beyond just looking pretty in the water, it provides oxygen and oxygenates the water. Anyway, I remember discovering this, and then I thought to myself, being, you know, a person who always wants more. Well, I've got one air stain in the fish tank. What if I put two in there? And I discovered that if I bought a little tea piece and put it in the tubing, so I could have two air stains I know it's a long-winded story, but I'm getting to the point. If I could have two air stains in the fish tank, the fish would grow and the plants would grow a lot better and all of that. Anyway, I remember being in school. I think I was about 12 or 13. And I had my mate who was saying, you know, my fish keep dying and we don't have much money to buy more fish. And I've said to him, do you know what? If you buy one of these air stains and you've put a pump in, blah, 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 it'll keep your fish going longer. And I remember going home and taking the tea piece off mine, thinking, hey, I'll make this guy happy. Listen to this. I'll make this guy happy by giving him this tea piece, and he can do this and that and go and buy a pump, bit of tubing. But then I also thought, but I'll sell it to him. And so
brilliant.
At a young age, I connected the thought that you can get rewarded if you give people what you want, what they want. And so if you focus on what they want, be over and above what you want just comes as a consequence. So to answer your question, and a bit of a story there, that is my earliest memory.
It's funny because it makes me think a good analogy is that you actually want to be the bubbles in life for the fish.
Well, it's a good metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. When you look back at your journey, is there a reoccurring theme or pattern that you can identify as the key driver behind your persistence and ambition, even when the odds are against you?
So when I look back, and it's been a long career of sales and marketing, and the reoccurring theme is failure.
Yeah,
that is a reoccurring theme, failure. And, you know, there's lots of analogies around failure and lots of memes that you can read about failure and all of that sort of stuff. But if you can understand that, a bit like if you're going to make a chocolate cake, there are specific ingredients to put in. You know, it's a bit like this. It's like if you go to your local supermarket and you buy a cake mix and you go, I want to make that chocolate cake that looks like the picture on the box. And you come home and it says, add 2 eggs. And you go, well, I'm going to forego the eggs and just try and make the cake anyway. The likelihood of you getting the end result looking like the picture on the box is going to be negligible, let alone the taste. In other words, if you take out one of the key ingredients, you can't end up with the outcome you're aiming for.
Yeah.
And one of the key ingredients to be successful is failure.
Yes, 100%.
Because failure promotes growth. You know, whether you're into bodybuilding, weightlifting, just getting healthy, fit, it is all about resistance. And without resistance, the body doesn't grow. Without failure, the mind doesn't grow. You do not become creative. And people who don't accept failure as part of the journey just destroy their capacity to be creative around finding what will make them successful? And I think when you ask about a reoccurring theme, it's that.
We're massive believers in failing forward. So that's what we say. So when you fail forward, and it's a big thing.
But why can Mark Blundell fail forward compared to someone else that fails and it cripples them and that's their life story forever? Have you discovered why?
So another important ingredient. So we talked about failure. There's another important ingredient called grit. And grit is the measure of determination that you have. Now, people have ambitious goals. You know, I wonder if I can lose X amount of weight in this period of time. That excites me. Or I wonder if I can make this amount of money in this period. That excites me. Okay. Now, a lot of the time, a goal, certainly a goal that's worth having, is often audacious. It's ambitious. It's something you don't have right now. And if you kid yourself that your first attempt is going to deliver that outcome, then you may as well not start. You must understand that just like the eggs and the flour and the cake mix itself are important ingredients to end up with the cake being the goal, grit is an important part. So I have to accept that sometimes it is going to be painful, right? But that pain is not a signal for I'm on the wrong pathway or I'm going to give up. You know, what I do today, I build a lot of campaigns. And can I tell you, you know, some of my clients pay me, over $1 million to build marketing campaigns for them online, to make their ads, to build their webinars and all of that. I've numerous clients of mine have gone from scratch to making $1 million a year out of the activities that I've created for them. And the thing about online marketing is, certainly in the early days, but still present today, I'd probably be in my category, which is around the finance, mortgage, property space. My campaigns, and I had this confirmed by Facebook, and I'm not saying this to pump my tires up, I'm just trying to position because of the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I know Meta has told me my campaigns are the most successful in the world.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I've told you that for one reason, and that is to tell you nothing works first time that I create.
Yeah.
Nothing. An ad doesn't work. A headline doesn't work. The first sentence doesn't work. The image doesn't work. The this doesn't work. The that doesn't work. And, you know, I've seen people attempt to do this stuff themselves and they go, well, I'm going to market my clothing brand. I'm going to do this ad. I'm going to do that. And go, well, fuck, only my grandmother clicked on the ad. Do you know? Nothing happened. Must be a shit idea. And then they quit. And I think, well, hang on, if you've got a goal, something you've never achieved before, do you really think that life is that easy that you're going to be able to come up with the answer in your first go? And so when you meet with failure, you must understand grit needs to occur. And I think that the one part that sort of separates people is how much grit have you got? How determined are you? And what that leads to is an approach where whatever you're trying to achieve, you adopt the mindset of going, it's not a matter of whether this is going to work or not. It's how long will it take to work? Because it's going to work because I have enough grit to keep, adjusting, changing, pivoting, altering, etc., without losing my determination for the ambition, for the goal that I have in my mind. And I think that is a really good way to think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You mentioned in one of your podcasts that you believe that a lot of people don't feel that they are entitled to success. And I thought that was really interesting. So how do you help someone change that belief? Or can you?
So if we look objectively, and you don't need to be religious, I'm not necessarily religious or anything like that, right? But all living creatures on this planet are entitled to survive, go beyond surviving, thriving, whether you're talking about a plant, a beetle, an ant, a bird, a dog, a cat, or a human being for that matter. We are entitled to thrive.
Yeah, 100%.
If that entitlement didn't exist, the world wouldn't be populated with as many people as it has. And so, likewise, you are entitled to achieve, to accomplish, and to be rewarded for your efforts. Now, a lot of people have narratives going on in their mind, probably that have been permeated in childhood, that they're no good, they're not this, they're not that, they're not the other thing. Can I tell you, like, here's the truth. Some of the richest people I know are not the most intelligent, nor are they the best looking, nor are they the smartest, right? They're just not. I can't tell you how many people I've met with absolute admiration going, fuck, I'm amazed you got there. Do you know what I mean? But the bottom line is, well, what separates them? Mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset. I am entitled to be successful. I am entitled to be wealthy. I am entitled to earn more than maybe generations of my family behind me. I am entitled, when I climb up that mountain, to reach the summit. And so if you develop this mindset of entitlement, and it's not being entitled at the expense of others, of course, or being entitled because I've got tickets on myself. It's about entitlement. You can embrace the things that life provides to those who aspire to have them.
Do you think it's important to recognize success? Because the reason I ask that, because in other people's eyes, someone may be like incredibly successful, but if you ask them, they might have no idea of their success at all. Like, we talk about this book called The Gap and the Gain, and it's all about looking back and being and having a moment and thinking, oh, I have done that. Like, I am successful in that area. But some people might, have all these incredible things that they've done, and they're just on to the next thing, and without realizing any of their past successes. Do you think it's important to do that?
Josh, a lot of people navigate through life looking for someone to pat them on their back and acknowledge their success. And we have to accept that's nice when you get it, right? But I tell you, something that I was able to do is, in the quiet of my mind, just pat myself on the back. And that skill in itself is fantastic. What I've learned as I've navigated through my career is we have all the resources within us to give us everything we want. And the moment you rely on somebody to give you an endorsement, it will just prolong your journey, right? It'll just prolong your journey, because that capacity to be satisfied, to be comfortable in your skin and go, well, that's what I've been given, right? That's just how the cards have been dealt. That's what I've been given. What can I do with this pack of cards? What can I turn it into? And then to accomplish something. Progress, it's called. Progress, right? And so if you're able to do that, when you progress, and it can be just starting is progress, right? The ability to be able to self-talk and say, good on you. That was hard. You progressed. You're not there. And because success is about stacking lots of things. It's not some finish line that you step over, right? Success is about stacking. And so in that sense, stacking little elements of your progress and being able to pat yourself on the back quietly, not go out having to look for a signal to come from somebody else to provide you with some sort of acknowledgement.
Yeah, that's a big one, actually. It is about learning for yourself, isn't it? Something that you mention a lot as well, and you keep going back to it as well, which is really interesting. You said in one of your podcasts again that the biggest predictor of success is rooted in your childhood. The emotional and environmental experiences of our childhood lay the foundations for our future behaviors. So how do
100%.
we create the right experiences for a child to become successful?
Look, that's difficult because we're all human and we all make mistakes. And I think by and large, those of us who have children set out to do our best, and we all make errors. There's not the perfect parent. But beyond anything, I believe, and I've learned this from not having had it, in my childhood, and unfortunately learning it at an age where, after my kids were sort of grown up, and I've reflected back and thought, gee, I wish I'd have spent more time doing this because this is really important. And that is the acknowledgement, you are okay.
Yeah.
You are okay. You are okay.
Yeah.
Because as parents, we have a role to correct and point and all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes there's a bit of an imbalance that occurs in the correction. So it's all one-sided, and it creates a narrative that doesn't lend itself to somebody appreciating their skills. So I'll give you an example, like in the environment that I grew up in, I had no idea that I had some intelligence before the age of 30.
Wow.
Yet, before 30, in my 20s, I was successful as a salesperson within a company, but had no comprehension whatsoever that I was intelligent. And that's because my nature is creative. And so as a creative, the traditional schooling system is sort of a bit lost on me.
Yeah.
Right. And so my measure of intelligence was directly connected to the results I might have had in school. But my head, the way I was made, was creative. And, I can look at some of the video ads that I make now and I go, gee, that's clever, that's good, or what have you, to myself. However, I miss that. And I look back as an older person now and go, I wish someone had instilled in me and said, hey, you know what, Mark, you're really creative. You're good. You should, investigate that. And so when I talk about childhood, unfortunately, some of us, other people have wonderful childhood. Some of us become the byproduct of a childhood that isn't in keeping with the extension that a parent might want to make of their child. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so,
I do. I really resonate with that. But that makes me curious, because I'm wondering if someone mentioned that to you, would have your drive been as strong to get better and better, to make yourself better, or would have you just been like, I'm enough? I resonate because I am a creative person, similar to you. I've only started to realize that I am smart. Also, I had my first kid at 21, so I've had those challenges too. So yeah.
Look, I think in terms of would it have made a big difference, a huge difference, because a lot of us spend our teens, our 20s. Now, you look, 20s and 30s is a prime of your life, right? You can't play football, if you like, for your national team if you're 50, unless it's lawn bowls or something like that. But football or something. So you're in your prime. And I think a lot of people struggle with this sense of self and question, who am I and as a result, do not develop a sense of purpose. And so they spend their time navigating through life feeling a bit like a particle in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Just bouncing around, not actually being able to create some tangible anchors from which to build. And, you know, it's the role of our parents or caregivers to nurture us, to take care of us, to look out for us, to do all of that. And not much attention is given to, I don't mean giving a kid a big head and thinking they're just fantastic, but encouragement around who they are.
Yeah, that's really true.
And so that I can navigate through life through my 20s and 30s and know who I am, not navigate confused, you know, so I can develop an opinion, so I can develop a stance on things, so I can not be flaky. And so I don't, and when you understand who you are, you don't get these emotional irritations that you can't quite put your finger on why they're annoying you. Because
sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, one of the major challenges that restricts people's success is the extent to which they feel emotions, the extent to which their feelings govern their behaviors. And what a lot of people don't understand is those feelings or those emotions are signals trying to tell you something. But a lot of people just feel, I feel shitty. That person pissed me off. That deal didn't go well, so therefore. And cannot resolve those feelings which stop them having the grit to keep progressing because they can't resolve the feeling. It's that feeling. And the thing about emotions and feelings is the brain can't resolve those emotions without words, because emotions don't come with words. They come with feelings.
Yeah.
And we don't spend enough time. And so if you've got no idea who you are, you don't know where your North Star is, and so you can't have dialogue with yourself to help placate your emotions, so you become stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
In your progress. That's what happens.
See that. I can completely see how that would happen. It's I definitely feel that when I was in my 20s, I didn't really know what I was doing or who I was or anything. So yeah, I can see that.
So tell us the steps how you coach someone that doesn't feel like they're enough. Like, do you have a step-by-step process of how you would kind of step them back to a younger self and help that relationship with them to say to themselves, like, yeah, I am enough?
Well, if you think about how did that person get to that, because that outcome is not natural. Like, they weren't born like that.
Yeah.
And so often there's a trauma that's occurred in their childhood. And so I spend time with, lots of successful and accomplished people talking initially about their childhood, because they don't recognize that some event is actually the contributor to this feeling. I'm just not enough becomes their narrative, and that's it. They don't go exploring. How did that feeling or thought get there in the first place? And so, I used to have a guy who worked with me in my business, a tremendously intelligent, clever guy who should have been well beyond. He shouldn't have been working for me. He should have had a business like me, and I said to him, why are you here? It's not that I don't like you working here. I love it that you work here, but like, why are you here? And why don't you just do that next step? Make that call. Take that risk, implement and execute on that creative thought. It's a good one. why don't you? And we went back into, and I started to explore his childhood with him, and he spoke about this one time that, as I imagine, he was maybe 6 or 7, and he drew something on the blackboard at school in response to an answer the teacher asked, and it was the wrong drawing. So in other words, the drawing didn't correlate with the answer that was expected. And the teacher called him a dunce and put him in the corner and made him wear, and put a brown paper bag, the old grocery bag, and he said, with the word dunce on it. Yeah. And, here's this guy in his 50s, still being hamstrung by trauma that occurred in one day. One school day,
how much
that stayed with him, that stays with him all his life. So when I use the word trauma, I don't necessarily mean, the extent of traumas can change, but when I use the word trauma, I mean, for a sensitive person, that could be incredibly impactful.
Yeah.
And so what happens is people remain stuck. If we think about this guy I was just talking about, how old is the mindset that's holding him back?
Yeah.
It's a 6-year-old's mindset. Yet at 50, this problem is still playing out. And this is what holds people back to become successful, because that trauma is an emotion, it's a feeling. There are no words around it. And so consequently, it's never healed. And it plays a role in people, failing to launch as such. Now, when you think about this problem and you go, if you can identify that's happening with you, you can resolve this yourself with words. But it comes from the problem with traumatic events like that is it's natural to try not to think about them and to run from them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you run towards them and sit in them again, which can be a bit confronting, no matter what the trauma is, and sit quietly in your mind and take yourself back to that spot and replay that scene, but replace the words with the right words. In other words, so what would the empathetic teacher, whose role it is to encourage a young kid, what words would they have used in that sentence, in that situation, I should say, and replay it, because you can soothe yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And you can change the narrative, and then you can move forward. And so if you want to become successful, a lot of people are driven to success because they're running. But remember, I said and it's my perspective, it's just my opinion, success is trying to find that generally peaceful environment amongst most things. And if something's holding you back, it's worth going back to your childhood. And that's why in that podcast, I talked about a lot of this is rooted in your childhood. You will see a lot of people who had traumatic childhoods either, end up, a life of unproductivity, or they will be super successful because they're running from that trauma.
Yeah.
And they'll attain great things, but they'll remain unhappy because the trauma follows you. It doesn't matter. It's not about the outside world. And it's not about the accomplishment. You will never be able to pat yourself on the back, that I talked about was so important, of your accomplishments if you're running all the time.
So this is something that we need to find out, what is the formula for success? So far, you've said failure, grit, mindset, but what is the formula? Is there one?
So to get there, and it's a never-ending quest, okay? So it's not a destination, it's a journey. You've got to think about, well, what do I optimize my life for each day? Like, what am I trying to optimize? Am I optimizing my time? Am I optimizing my relationships? Am I optimizing my health? Am I optimizing my business progress, my financial? Like, what are you trying to optimize for? Now, a lot of people think that they should optimize for happiness. But here's the mistake. There's no such thing as eternal happiness. You know, the chemicals in our brain are forever trying to keep an equilibrium in our emotional state. You know, when we get too elated and elevated, there's something that kicks in that sort of brings us down. And so if we were to plot our moods or emotive states, you'd see them as somewhat of a waveform. You know, in some people it's a bit more erratic. But if you try to optimize for happiness all the time, and I'm not saying that it's not good to be happy, of course it is. But if you optimize for happiness, you're probably aiming for something that's not realistic, which will leave you forever disappointed.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas if you optimize for productivity, when you're productive, the chances are you're going to be happy about the production.
Yeah.
About what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, how good do people feel just tidying up their bedroom? How good do people feel about just tidying up their kitchen cupboards or getting rid of clutter in their garage or whatever? It's because productivity leads to that sense of happiness. And so if you can start your day from the moment you wake up and think to yourself, what are the things that I need to do today to bring the best version of me to every encounter that I face today?
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I love
That's
that.
incredible.
That makes me think about how you stack like the stack the success. How like there's days where Casey and I have felt really like down and sick in the morning, and then we still have to we have our own business, so we have to turn up for the day and do a market and be on our best, and we just fully show up, and then we can put that in our bank and say, like, even on our worst days we can turn up and be incredible people
and be productive.
That's so powerful.
That's right. So by starting the day with that intent, rather than going, what have I got to do today? I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, going, hang on a minute, I'm going to start by going, how do I bring the best version of me to every encounter that I have today? Yeah. And then so irrespective of how you feel, you have a charter of behavior. You have your mindset right. And by taking 10 minutes, and I do this every day without a day that I miss, 10 minutes. Because we all wake up shitty, grumpy, things don't go our way, dramas happened, bad night's sleep, nightmares, all that. That's normal. But to start the day going, okay, how do I bring the best version of myself to every encounter? Then irrespective of how you feel, you just do it anyway, right? And you progress. And that in itself is progress.
That is incredible. What a great tool.
I want you to elaborate on that a bit more, because it sounds like you think words are super powerful in like the way that you described the guy writing on the board and being called a dunce. And that has, impacted him severely. Can you give us a little glimpse of what you say to yourself? Is there any key things that you say to yourself internally, like on repetition, that you can think of that have really helped you build your success?
So there are a few narratives that just happen to just exist in my head. One is, you're no smarter and you're no dumber than the next person. So therefore, if someone else has done something that you want to do, there's no reason why you can't do it. So that's the first thing. It's just that. So second thing is, I never put people up here or down here. People are just people, right?
Yeah.
So I don't devalue myself by going, oh, yeah, but that person's got this freaking gift that I don't have. I don't think of it that way. I go, we're all the same, right? So that's another narrative. I know 1,000% that the greatest sense of accomplishment, right, and satisfaction and happiness and productivity comes from giving. Now, that's not because I've got a Christian outlook or a Mother Teresa mantra going on. No, no, no. That's just, I know that to be a fact.
Yeah.
And it's a fact because you will always get what you want by giving people what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
you think about
True.
you do a deal can only go ahead because the other person you're trying to do a deal with got what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about giving
Right?
value, isn't it?
And so if you can prioritize them over you all the time. Now, that doesn't mean being a doormat and being walked over, right? Having a good sense of self is important because no is the most powerful word that you can use in your business at any time, right? Just no to a client. No, I'm not doing that. No, I don't want to do your job. No, I don't want to keep doing this anymore. No, I know you're a good client, but you know what? You're holding me back. So no is a good empowering word.
Yeah.
However, going back to what it is that I was talking about, I think all too often we forget that we control the narrative. If you can contribute value to somebody's life, you will get rewarded.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing a deal with someone, when you're selling, when you're growing a business, if you're dealing with a supplier or a customer, think about them first. Think about them. Immerse yourself in providing value. And the more value you give them, the more successful you'll be. So many people live in this scarcity mentality, I'm going to get ripped off, or that person didn't acknowledge me, or this and that. It just freaking holds them back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Focus on giving. It's in correlation with that thought of how do I bring the best version of me to any encounter? And again, it doesn't come from being a terribly lovely person or a good humanitarian. It's not about that. It's just that's the formula. And when you can accept that that's the formula and optimize everything you do to be the best version of you, to add value to people's lives, it's extraordinary the rewards you get. Extraordinary.
Yeah, the byproduct is that you're feeling great, so that's not a bad byproduct. It makes me think of
well, isn't that what we all want to attain?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
very true.
It makes me think about one time
because the opposite's not so attractive, is it?
One time me and Casey were out camping and it was Easter and there was these random people next to us and I just thought, let's buy a load of Easter eggs. And on Easter morning, I went around inside their camp while they were sleeping and hid Easter eggs everywhere.
We didn't
know them. And then anyway, we heard them waking up and stuff. We just peeked through the tent and saw them like being like, oh my God, look at this. And we never told them about it. And I swear it was like one of the best feelings I've ever had.
How good did that leave you feeling?
It was so fun. It was so much fun.
One of the funnest things I've ever done.
They were all so confused that one of their other friends had done it and they were all like, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was great.
And, it leads me to another point. Be observant of success.
Yeah.
You thinking about that when I watched you telling me that story, Josh, you just smiled all the way through it.
Yeah.
Bring that approach to business.
Yeah.
Same thing. Not, I don't mean, give away your stock for nothing, but like it's people forget their power of influence, right? People wait when in a business situation, if they're running a business or whatever, people wait for a reaction from somebody instead of thinking, how can I influence this person by my contribution of value?
Yeah.
And people forget the power of their influence, using their gifts in communication, engagement, their physical contribution or whatever to be able to add value. People forget, and to be able to lead discussions and lead ideas and all of that. But if you don't have this positive self-opinion of yourself, you'll never trust yourself to venture into that realm.
Yeah.
On that note, Mark, are you successful?
So far today, yes.
Good. That's a nice
It's
answer.
one day. It's one day at a time.
Yeah.
Again, that's the other thing. So that's why I answered like that. Like today, yeah, I am. Tomorrow's tomorrow, but before tomorrow begins, I'll do that mindset of how do I bring the best version of myself to the game, and hopefully I will adhere to my instructions to whatever I do.
I think that's a really nice thing to think about. How you phrase that, it makes me think like being in the now, being present in the moment. That's probably, and being true to yourself, they're probably the real greatest foundations of success. If you can attain those things, like your self-truth, and be in the moment, then you're not doing too bad.
I agree with you, Josh. A lot of us have the audacity to think we can control outcomes. You and I don't know what's going to happen in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know. And so it's about now. And so it's like I can look at the situation right now and try, and this is what a lot of people do, and they discourage themselves. They look at a circumstance that didn't go right. And not everything does go right, for heaven's sake, but they look at a circumstance that didn't go right and they go, project 2 years down the track, 1 year down, I'm going to be broke. Are you serious? Like, do you think you have that much control and capacity to be able to be, some voyeur, able to be able, predict what's going to happen?
You can
be present now. Deal with the now.
Yeah. Sort it out.
Don't carry tomorrow's burdens and the next day's burdens. Surely there's enough today.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And so mindset, the way we think is hugely a massive contributor to people's success.
So what is next for Mark Blundell?
So I'm venturing on a lot of the work I'm doing at the moment. I'm creating online ads for different companies. And because I've spent a lifetime observing people, how they react to things, I've spent a lifetime just observing myself, asking myself that question, well, why does that piss me off?
Yeah.
Rather than that really pisses me off, asking, okay, yeah, it does, but why? And trying to understand my mechanics. What it's allowed me to do is to be able to create ads that move people in a way that get them to take action. And so when a client engages me to create a marketing campaign for them to attract more customers, like I have a client who does a webinar every second Tuesday, right? He's in financial services. He has 6,500 people register for that webinar on average every second week.
Wow.
He has
So
no one does this stuff, right? He has 2,500 people of those 6,500 turn up.
Yeah.
He's got a top line revenue of $50 million, like extraordinary.
Amazing.
And so I think, okay, more finances and debt and interest, it's all pretty fucking boring subjects to but he pays me and I charge him an extraordinary amount of money to do this work, like big time. And so I need to look at this and go, there are a gazillion and one posts on Facebook or Instagram. What do I need to do to capture the attention of someone to get them to stop? Then what do I need to do to induce them into this ad? Then what do I need to do to keep them listening? And depending on what we're selling, the bigger the ticket item or that we're offering, I need to spend more time with them in this video. A 30-second reel is not going to do it if we're selling some of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, like I sit here and create stuff that does that. Now, not everything works first go, but we get everything to work. And I'd be happy to show you. I've been working today on. I have a client who's a very high performing real estate agent. Now, I'm not looking to cast aspersions about the nature of a real estate agent, but they are fairly stereotypical. And so if you think about what can a real estate agent advertise? Well, a real estate agent can advertise, hey, if you list your house through me, I'm going to get you more money than the next person. That's it.
Yeah.
Like that's it if you boil down. And so I've been sitting here trying to go, how can I not say that? How do I say something different? Because if I can say something different, this guy will get attention, he'll get credibility, and he will win people over, right? How do I do that? And so I'd love to show you what I've done. You can edit this out if you want. Can I share it with you?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
And I'll show you.
I love how you have to put yourself in the other person's mindset looking at the ad. It's so interesting that you have to flip your perspective.
Absolutely. So when I'm creating an ad, I have to become the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm selling to me. And so I create stuff that goes, if it doesn't convince you, and Mark, you're the world's biggest skeptic, if it doesn't convince you, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
I have this dialogue with myself, right? And so I was thinking about this real estate agent going, fuck, this is a hard task. I've got to pull him out. I've got to pull the public out of the stereo. How do I get them to start watching in the first place? Like, what's the opening sentence?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm like, what are we? And so I've been sitting here and I think we've come up with something. Do you have 3 minutes to watch?
Yeah, go for it. Share it.
Okay, let me just quickly grab it here for a moment. You can make some commentary just while I'm just flipping screens here.
Well, those that are watching that want to get Mark's
here we go
podcast.
Yes.
What's your podcast called again?
So it's called the Mindscape Success Podcast.
There you go.
So have a listen to that. There's some amazing stuff on those podcasts.
Yeah, I'm very envious of the way that it's filmed and everything, which I might after we stop.
You're welcome to come and use the backdrop anytime.
Well, we will.
We'll
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I have this set up here. So if I do this, hopefully this works and won't bore you. You might sit here and go, that's crap.
And then you failed forwards.
I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, here is how to turn a boring subject into something of intrigue by using all the elements that I just spoke to you about so far in chatting. All right. So
let's go for it.
I commute all these thoughts back into ads. Okay, so just let me share this with you. Now, this is a long form ad. It needs to be long, otherwise I can't get the viewer across the line. So remember, first thing, I need to get them to stop scrolling and just listen and to be drawn in to the ad.
Yeah.
Right. So this was today's focus effort on becoming productive.
When you're thinking about selling your home, there's so much that goes on. The feelings, emotions, lots of thoughts running through your mind. And what saddens me about many real estate agents is they just disregard this. It seems that they're focused solely on getting the listing. So what they forget is they're dealing with you, a person processing all kinds of emotions about selling your home. And what they miss are things like, it's your family home, and selling often means saying goodbye to a lot of treasured memories. I mean, this is where you raise your kids. It's where life unfolded, the good, the bad, the life-changing moments. Or maybe your family's broken apart, and the home is now just a reminder of everything that's now split down the middle. And so when deciding to sell, you're processing the grief, the loss, and so much nostalgia. And while all of this is going on, some agents are trying to talk to you about market trends, sales figures, and their awards. But here's the truth. None of that really matters when you're making such an important decision. Does it? I mean, you don't care about an agent's market share or the awards on their wall. What you care about is what you're going through right now. And if your agent can't connect with those feelings, those deep emotions, I can guarantee that you're going to feel left like another sale to them. That's why there's some agents out there making 50 calls a day or knocking on 50 doors a week looking for listings. And I'll probably get criticised for saying it, but I don't care. What they are searching for is someone vulnerable enough, someone who they can wear down. They're looking for someone they can push, convince, and almost beat into submission just to secure the listing. But is that really the kind of agent you want to work with? That approach doesn't build trust. It doesn't build relationships because it doesn't respect the emotional journey that you're going on. Imagine working with an agent who totally gets the weight of the decision you're trying to make, who isn't just after the sale, but genuinely cares about what's best for you. Someone who listens to your concerns, your hopes, and helps you feel secure in the process of selling, not pressured. Because when you find an agent who connects with you emotionally, everything changes. You trust them, not just with your home, but with your story and your future. That's how meaningful relationships are built in real estate. And so here's what I want to do for you and I think will help. I'd like to get on a Zoom call with you and have what I call a pre-sale chat. The reality is, I can't help everyone looking to sell, but wouldn't it be worth having a quick chat just to see what I can contribute that may make a difference for you? So click the Learn More button below to book a time in my calendar. Because I'm interested in your situation, your desires, and where you are right now. Because you're not just selling a house, you're starting a new chapter. And I'd like to help to make sure it begins in the right way.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the sort of stuff that I make.
Well, it's
What
really
an incredible advert. Yeah.
The start of it, I love, like, because it's really important to grab the first 5 seconds, and it really was something that I didn't expect. And I was like, what is going to go on here?
Yeah, I loved it.
It got
Absolutely
me.
incredible. Yeah.
And also like getting all the insecurities out there in the open is like so good. I really like it.
It was amazing. I mean, you are incredible at what you do. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So that that just comes from understanding me, understanding people, and looking to give them what they want. Because when you give them what you want, you get what you want. And that ad is all about giving them what they want.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So going forward in life, I think all of our listeners should, have that kind of service mentality in mind of like really coming from that point of just wanting to help people.
Desires.
Yeah.
Facilitating desires.
Genuinely wanting to help.
Yeah.
That's it. So
we are going to have to wrap up now, unfortunately. It's been,
Yeah, I feel like we've only scratched the surface. We need to do a part 2.
Sure.
So
well, that's.
Oh, sorry. Carry on, Mark.
I was just going to say. So that's what's to answer your original question. I believe that's the framework to success.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom. And so where can people find you if they want to find out more?
I don't know.
He's not the race car driver, everybody. He's not the race.
No, that's it. And I'm not the best marketer of myself. I don't do much marketing at all for myself. You can find me on Facebook, Mark Blundell, or Instagram. I think I don't even know what my handle is on Instagram. Maybe you might put it up in the comments section. I'm a bit hard to find, not by design, but just work seems to come my way just through what I do. And
like a dentist has bad teeth.
Let's say that again.
Like a dentist has bad teeth. You don't market.
That's it. So, but yeah, you find me online. Or you can send me an email even. It's mark.blundell01@gmail.com. How's that?
There you go. Now you're going to get an inflow of thousands of emails.
We'll pop everything in the comments as well. But I would like to say thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible. Your wisdom has been invaluable to us. So thank you for sharing that with us and showing us your craft as well. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for taking an interest. And I wish you both all the best with your endeavors. You're good people.
Amazing. Thank you.